Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our fourth GSG Talk. We've managed to create ourselves a little overlay. Thank you very much to everyone that was involved in these efforts. Hello, Raiders. Welcome. Nice said Meljoan, as always. Today we have two very special guests. We have 302 Dave and ScruffyFox. One of the efforts we're trying to make is to have two guests that do not live in the same country. We are achieving that so far, so the conversation can get a little more international, and that's who we have today. Scruffy is from the UK, right?
Yep, South UK, South England.
South England. And 302, you are in what part of America?
I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in America.
The first city that was founded in America, right? Pennsylvania.
So the Declaration of Independence in America was signed in Pennsylvania, but I think the first state is technically Delaware, I think. So I don't know. I remember a little bit of middle school history class.
Okay. So guys, let's start by the basic questions. Something that every guest has responded here is, how did you get to the Golden Shrimp? How did you meet the guild? We can start. Let's do this. Every time I ask a question, we start by Scruffy, and then we go to 302 Dave, if that's okay.
Cool, yeah. If I go on for too long, feel free to just cut me off, because
Okay.
I might just ramble. So, Golden Shrimp Guild, I actually found through Gilly Kimchi back in January 2022. I was streaming for a couple months, and I was browsing the improv tag, because I was like, I wonder if there's anyone else doing improv music like me. And obviously on Twitch there were, and I came across Gilly, and I was watching her streams for a while. She had a very similar sort of sound and setup to me, and she recommended Golden Shrimp Guild, and then I joined. And then a couple of months later, I did my first synthon.
Nice. How about you, 302?
Well, for me, so I had been streaming actually kind of for quite a while before finding it, but like before even, as I know a lot of people started doing the music streaming stuff in the pandemic time, but even before that, I think in probably like 2019 or 2020, or sorry, 2018 or 2019 or something like that, I came across it was, the username at the time was Jared Benjamin Lee, but it's Jared from now Love You Loops, and we would watch each other's streams here and there. And I think it was October of 2020. He just sent me a DM on Twitch like, "Hey, there's this thing called Synthon. You should do this thing." Or it wasn't Synthon, it was Synthfest. So yeah, joined in it from there. It was Jared that pointed it out to me. So. And came into the Discord, and for how much I normally am kind of a little bit social media averse, immediately enjoyed the group there, so I've stuck around.
Nice. How long have you guys been streaming before you met the Golden Shrimp Guild?
On and off since about 2016. So I tried back in 2016, like way back, but my computer just couldn't handle it, so I didn't really do much. But then during the pandemic, I got involved with another Twitch community, like Scottish Twitch, with like Limmy and those kinds of people doing just chatting and casual gaming. And during the pandemic, I thought I'd give it a go, and it wasn't really for me. I've struggled to like get into it and feel like comfortable with it, but I always wanted to do music streaming. I wasn't really quite there to like expose myself to the internet with my music, but then I saw some other music streamers do their thing, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go for it. And then I started building my project and been doing it pretty much every day for the last 18 months.
Nice. How about you, 302?
For me, it was the very end of 2017 was when I started. I think it was December 1st, 2017. I was been pretty like on and off. I have stretches where I'll like, miss a bunch of streams in a row and stuff, but it's been pretty consistently regular since then.
Was there a time when you said, "Okay, I'll do this often," or from the moment that you started doing this, you said, "Oh, if I'm gonna stream, I should stream often."
When I started the project, I set out this is kind of what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be regular, but I wasn't sure how long I would be able to go on for. I wasn't sure how many streams it would be before I would I've run out of ideas. I don't know. I'm just doing the same thing over and over. And that was about 18 months ago. And I'm still making stuff, original stuff, every time I stream, every time I do an improv. So yeah, I'm just going to keep going until I get that feeling of, I'm a bit bored now, and then I'll move on to something else.
Nice.
Yeah, for me, it was... I think when I started off, I'm not sure I ever had a specific schedule in mind when I started, but I had intended to do it at least semi-regularly, because the one of the motivations when I started was I wanted to try to do production on stream. Actually, I wanted to stream using, at the time I used Reaper, but I wanted to stream myself writing music kind of as a motivation to kind of keep myself writing a little bit more, and that very quickly devolved into me just playing the synthesizers. But I was having a good time with it, so I just kind of stuck with it. And it was I always assumed that I'll get bored of this in a month and stop, kind of like Scruffy's saying, but I just didn't, and I just kept going. So here I am.
It's really interesting because I was kind of the same. I wanted to do music production streams back in 2020, but I felt, because of my inexperience doing production and my hate for doing production, I never really took off. I don't know. There's something about just arranging music, sitting down and sort of dialing in automation using the keyboard and mouse. It just feels, I don't know, it feels weird for me. I was always into what you were saying, Dave, just playing with the synthesizers, twisting knobs and making sounds. I was like, why can't I just do this? Why can't I just make music like this? And then it turns out you can. It turns out you literally can.
Yeah, it's way more fun. I think everyone at some point said to themselves, "I'm streaming too much. I should be doing something more elaborated," and then went back to streaming just because it's way more fun. Let's hear the story behind your names, because I can't make sense out of it.
Okay. So I've been using this username for, I don't know, 17 years now. Back in the day when usernames had to be unique. I mean, they still kind of do, but back then it was even more so. Usernames had to be unique. Scruffy was always taken, so I just pretty much added my favorite animal to the end, which is a fox, ScruffyFox. But the actual nickname Scruffy came from my parents, and it wasn't a turn of endearment. Kind of just stuck. It came to me in a dream, people calling me Scruffy, and it kind of just felt natural. So I just stuck with it, and been using that for about the last 17 years or so.
That's a lot. How about you, 302?
Mine is really stupid and meaningless. It was I was a marching band kid in high school, and we would go on a yearly trip to perform. One year we went to Virginia Beach. One year we went to Disney World, and there we would do a little marching band competition thing, and you'd always get a room of either 4 guys or 4 girls that you would share, and so it was me and 3 of my friends in the one hotel room, and it was room 302. And one of the to people who have regularly seen my streams, if you've seen Rook Mark II hanging around, he was one of those guys, and we just had this running joke that we're gonna form this group that's the we're gonna build mechas and stuff like that. It's just stupid nerd stuff. And we're going to call it 302 because it's this hotel room. So it literally means nothing. But I needed a username, and this was I I think I first used it as like a Steam name or something in I don't know, probably like 2007 or something like that. And then when I made my Twitch account, that's the name I made it with. And then when I started streaming, well, that was my Twitch account, so that's the name that I used. It was never intended to be like a musician name or anything like that, but it just kind of happened, I guess.
That's nice. I assumed it was some kind of synthesizer model.
Nope, it has nothing to do with anything. It's a hotel room.
Nice. You see,
That's really
we yeah.
That's really funny because you're the second person who's got a username based off a hotel room number. I know another streamer who had pretty much the same story. Group of friends, and they used the hotel number for his username.
Nice. Well, we're getting to the hard truth of streaming today. How do you guys prepare for your stream? I know both of you have different formats, or at least I've seen you do different formats. So how do you prepare? What's the concept behind those formats? Do you just do you stick to a plan? Do you improvise a lot? How do you think about that?
A bit of both. I don't do a lot of prep for the actual improv, but I do a lot of prep for the actual project itself. So I've got like it's like a rolling project file. So each improv that I do uses the last file project from the last improv. So I've got like a history of all my different improvs and the history of the project and how it's sort of progressed since I started. Mostly because it's just a pain in the ass to keep starting fresh every time, and I've got a whole bunch of muscle memory for things that I use. So I'll work on the project, like changing things up and trying new ideas. But in terms of like the actual content for the improv, I'll start with just a simple kick pattern and either a bass or a lead, and then everything from that point onwards is improv.
Nice.
Yeah, so for me, I start each stream with I have a very complex Ableton template. It's like just gets more and more complex over time, but it's the only actual clips in it. Like there's no audio recorded already, other than stuff that's like in like the sampler devices. And the only MIDI that I have like pre-recorded or set out or anything like that is that I have a couple different types of drum patterns. Like I'll have like a drum pattern that's just a kick drum. I have a drum pattern that's just kick and snare, and then I have a drum pattern that's like kick, snare, and hats. And then I'll have like loops running in samplers that have like shakers and things like that I can fade in and out. But all of the melodic and synthesizer stuff, all of those are basically just empty tracks that have a whole bunch of effects and everything on there ready to be tweaked. But all of the notes that get played, I record in on the fly and then kind of loop them and improvise from there. So I tend to, I have a couple of different, I don't even want to call them songs because they're not really, but like a couple of different grooves that I tend to fall back on for like the start of the stream, just kind of to warm up and get myself going. But then from there, it just branches out and it's pretty much entirely improv.
Do you guys have any special equipment that is like the diva of your sets, or do you just use everything in the same priority?
That's an interesting question. Yeah, I definitely have gear that I don't use as much, but most of it I do use. So I would consider probably, well, let's start with the beat step. So the beat step is my primary piece of equipment because that controls the master clock and the first the first drum track. But then the second brain, or the other half of the brain, is my complete control keyboard. So I've got the complete control collection, which has, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of patches. So all of the sounds come from that. And the big sort of, I guess, USP of my music and my project is the fact that I've got so many sounds that I can select from and draw inspiration from. And that's pretty much how I build build all of my music and keep it sort of fresh, so I can just choose new sounds, find new patches or whatever each project. And then I've got my push, which is fairly recent. That's pretty much just to control session view with all the clips and all that stuff, and the rich LCD for all of the parameters. And then I've got a couple of launch pads for macros, my launch control to tweak all my drums, so the levels and the filters, and then my fader fox for the filters of each track. And then I've got a Juno synth and a Neutron synth for just extra sounds.
Nice.
I guess the quick run through of mine is the sounds, like the sound sources are kind of spread out a good bit, but it is Ableton. I do use Ableton Push 2, so that's naturally, if you're doing Ableton and you have Push 2, that's kind of the center of most things. Weirdly, I use a Roland TR8 drum machine, not as a drum machine. I use it as basically a big MIDI controller, because you get a lot of faders and potentiometers from that thing. So I use that to basically bring in and out drums, and then a lot of the effects that I trigger, I use the knobs on the Roland TR8, and it doesn't actually make any sounds on its own in the sets. But yeah, I got a bunch of different other things that make sound sources. I got I did see beta units called out, the JP8000. That's the keyboard that's kind of front and center for me. It's the I actually, depending on a button that I hit on the TR8, it either is playing itself, or I also have a JP8080 underneath the desk that I mostly use for pad sounds. But then when I'm doing like solo lines and stuff, I'll use the internal JP8000. But yeah, there's a lot of synths around here, so I bounce back and forth between what does what.
Okay, Scruffy has asked to extend this highlight. We don't have highlights, but you can extend your response if you want.
You have to keep talking.
Sure. The quick rundown of other sounds. I guess we got Behringer Model Ds, primarily bass. I got Behringer Neutron, primarily ARPs. I got, let's see, Yamaha YPG 625. That's this thing here it's like student grade digital piano that I used to trigger Ableton's grand piano preset because it sounds better. Yeah, I don't know.
I got a quick question for Dave. Your Neutron, have you taken the pots off the tuning knobs?
I have not, and I'm feeling sometimes like I should. I see you do that. I've seen a bunch of other people do that. I have definitely bumped them a couple of times, but
it's a nightmare, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm torn though, because having the bigger knobs does make it a little bit easier to tune, but then it also makes it way easier to knock it out of tune. So I don't know.
Okay, here's a question. If you were to meet someone that is starting with streaming, someone that has no experience, and this person were to ask you some advice, like, can you tell me a couple of things I should keep in mind when streaming? What would you answer to that person?
Oh, that's a very good question. Just be yourself, pretty much. It's quite daunting to put yourself out there, especially if you've got quite a, personal connection with music like I have, where it makes it difficult to put yourself out there, because obviously you don't want people to say you're crap or sound bad or whatever. But one thing that makes it a little bit easier is there's plenty of worse people out there than you. So it kind of makes you feel a little bit better in a sort of weird way. But the biggest thing with streaming is the more you do it, the better you get, right? And that's the same with everything, really. The more you do it, the better you get. So if you just keep with it, you will eventually get better. I mean, I can literally hear that in my project because I record all of it. I can go back to my very first set, listen to it, and go back to my most recent set, and the difference is night and day.
Yeah, definitely can agree with all of that. The one thing, if a new person I was going to give advice, it is when you start out, there's not going to be a lot of people watching, and don't see that as a bad thing, because it's a reason to not be nervous about it. You can just do it, and it's fine. Like the first stream, probably the first couple streams, it's most likely just going to be you streaming out into the void, and that gives you time to get comfortable with it, and just if stuff goes wrong, it's fine. And if there's you start to get to the point where there's like one or two watching, and a lot of times the kind of people that will watch streams that no one else is watching, or one or two other people are watching, are generally not the kind of people that are gonna come in and give you crap for not being the highest quality stream that they've ever seen, and they're probably going to help you out and give you advice. So like there's no reason to be afraid to do it. It's a very the kind of community for, especially in Twitch music. I can't speak to games as much, but with the music section, the community that kind of centers around the smaller streams is very welcoming and helpful. So there's no reason to be nervous, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. When I first started out, I was doing private Discord streams, because I already had quite a few followers from the last year I did streaming. I didn't have the pure luxury of having 0 streamers, but yeah, I would 100% agree. Like, there is something comforting about not having anyone in there, and that you can just experiment without fear of, like, I don't know, it sounding bad or sounding horrible for people listening, or having it on in the background or whatever.
Do you guys?
I think another thing that. Oh, sorry.
No, please.
the one of the things that I really liked about it, especially early on, and this is probably very much a me thing, but like, I'm always very self-conscious about, like, I've never done like busking or anything like that, and I would always be, afraid of the idea of doing that, because it's like, I don't want to be that guy that like everybody's walking by. It's like, why do I have to listen to this guy putting his music out there? But when you're on something like Twitch, people can just leave. If they don't like you, they can just leave. And it's, again, people might be weird in if you go into a gigantic streamer with 1,000 viewers and whatever, people will go in there and be jerks because they got nothing better to do with their lives. But when you're kind of in the smaller tier, the little underground guys, if people don't like you, they just leave, and it's fine. There's nothing to really worry about.
Yeah, it's very, very rare that I have someone come into my stream and just be a dick. Very, very rare. And even then, you just ban and move on. Like, they're there to get a rise out of you, and if you don't give it to them, then they haven't got anything. They just wasted their own time.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my follow-up questions. Have you guys had any experience with trolls?
I mean, I've been on the internet my entire life, so lots of it.
No, I mean on Twitch specifically.
Yeah, specifically with my music streaming, no. Just spam bots, but never really. I've had maybe 1 or 2 people come in during a big raid and just be like, "I don't like this," and it's like, okay, thanks for the information, I guess. Like, you're free to go somewhere else.
Yeah, I think to Scruffy's point, like, I've elsewhere on the internet, sure, people were jerks on the internet, but miraculously, Twitch music, I have not run into anybody like that.
Do you guys check out the live streaming counter when you stream, or do you just let it be?
The viewer count?
Yeah.
I have it on, but I don't really pay too much mind to it.
Yeah, like it's visible to me. I don't like stare at it the whole time, but it's almost more of a thing that I consider maybe a little bit more in retrospect. But the thing with my streaming is I do it at such a weird time of day usually that it's I'm very much not behaving in a way that I know will get me more viewers anyway. if I was going to be aiming for viewers, then I would need to pick a different time to stream. So it's the numbers there, it's I guess it's an encouraging thing to just see it and know that there are people watching. But as far as what the number is, doesn't really have a whole lot of an impact for me, I guess.
It's a really weird thing, Twitch, because a lot of the features are gamified, right? So like getting a certain number of chatters in your stream, getting a certain number of followers, a certain number of subs to unlock more emotes and stuff like that. And it's a really weird, they call it the grind set, right, of streaming, like getting into a role of having a schedule and putting out socials and TikTok and all that stuff to get more viewers and more followers so you can hit partner and all that stuff. Don't care about any of that. Like I'm here just to do my project, and if people come and listen, that's great. And if they don't, then that's also great. I'm still doing my thing. I would be doing this if I wasn't streaming. But just because I've got all of the equipment anyway, I was like, well, I might as well stream it, right? And if people come and listen, then that's even better. But it's really interesting because I run 2 different kind of streams. I do my improv, but then I also do my radio restreams. And I find that I get a lot more viewers in my radio restreams, mostly because it's during the daytime, right? Than my improvs, which I do in the evenings. So it's like, it's not necessarily indicative of success, really, if you've got loads of viewers or not. I mean, I see loads of streamers who are, in my opinion, complete fucking garbage, and they have thousands of viewers. And like, why are people watching this crap? But that's just the way it goes.
Someone that knew about the subject once told me that basically Twitch is a image-based platform, not a sound-based platform. They told me this because they saw me like playing very complicated stuff, and the camera angle was wrong, and the lighting was wrong, and everything was wrong, but the music was good. And they told me, no, this is image. Well, that's what counts. Okay, we all 3 are software developers, so let's get geeky. Let's start the geek section of the of our interview. First, maybe you want to explain to the folks at home what kind of software developing you do?
Yeah, sure. Without doxing myself, I do mobile app development, primarily Android app development. So I write Kotlin code. Try not to write Java code because I value my mental health.
Okay.
I do write Java code because apparently I do not value my mental health, and yeah, I mostly do like enterprise Java code because I really don't value my mental health, and it's I do a lot of Java web dev with like I've used a bunch of different front ends over the years, but it's usually most of the things that I've worked on have been like corporate internal web pages. So it's that sort of thing.
And as developers, how do you judge Twitch as a software? How do you judge its feature?
This question is very tailored to the setup chat we had before going live.
Perhaps.
Twitch is very interesting. It's a very interesting case study on how to not run a product, in my opinion. Every feature they roll out has just been absolute garbage and always has some issue or something that they didn't think of. The most recent example, which I find absolutely hilarious, was the ability to remove founders badges from people. So I don't know if you know this, but if you've got a founders badge, the streamer can remove a founders badge from someone as long as they're not subbed. And that's really good if you, say, like me, streamed a couple of years ago, but then you've transitioned into something else and those people no longer come to your stream, and you want to reward the people who do come to your stream with a founders badge. So you can remove that. But when they first rolled out this feature, they neglected to consider that people might remove multiple people from that slot in quick succession. And what they did was they would send out a notification to the person who got the new founders badge to say, hey, you've got a new badge. But they might have had it removed before they had a chance to actually go to that channel and see it, right? So they quickly removed that feature to fix that before putting it back. It's like, do you not like ask anyone or test anything when you put it out? Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's strange. I have my on my channel. I have the people that have gifted some subs. And it doesn't work well. So every time someone gives a sub, I have to ask them for forgiveness by DM. Like, sorry, your name is not appearing up there. It's not my fault. I talked to Twitch developers. I send an email. They say, we'll look into it when we have time. Okay, cool. Thanks. How about you, Dave?
For me, when I'm using Twitch as a viewer, it's actually primarily on an Android tablet, and that's probably the absolute worst way to watch Twitch as a viewer. It's just it's convenient for me, but yeah, the using the 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 chat box on the side behaves weirdly, like especially if you've got I have a little Bluetooth keyboard that I attached to the Android tablet, and that does not play nicely with the chat box on Twitch Android. The raids are broken. It's it's a heck of a product for like the largest company in the world to own.
I challenge you to try the TV apps if you think the Android apps are bad.
Oh yeah, so actually that's I have a Chromecast hooked up to my TV, and there's a couple of streams that I'll watch on there, usually with my girlfriend, and they'll like bigger streamers, and they'll be okay. It's this is the time where we're going to run our ads, so the subscribers will stick around. And I'm not subscribed. They'll run their ads, and the Chromecast just doesn't play the ads. And I'm not complaining, but it kind of stinks for them because anybody that's watching Chromecast, they're not going to be getting the ad revenue from. So,
why do you guys think that these kind of things happen? They have the resources to fix this, but what's your assumption about this?
That's a good question as well. Well, most of the people have left. When Twitch got bought out, they completely changed their strategy on how they were going to make money from it, and a lot of the people who were there from the start, people like DJ Wheat, I think, they're no longer there. So you've lost all your talent, and then you're left with people who say yes to management, and management don't know what the fuck they're doing because management. And then you end up with a state like Twitch is at the moment where nothing fucking works, and they're completely moving in the wrong direction and developing features that no one asked for.
Yeah, then I can't obviously I don't know what goes on inside of Twitch exactly, but the thing that maybe a lot of people don't necessarily appreciate with consumer software is that just because something is a known problem that can be fixed, like to do anything requires time to be budgeted, and the time that they budget costs the company money. So the company, for any given bug in any given software you use, the company is very likely to know that it exists. They just make a cost analysis and decide it's not worth the money to fix it, so people are just going to have to deal. And that's, I would assume, what is probably happening with most of the bugs on Twitch. They have the resources, but they could spend $100,000 to fix this issue, or they could just not do that, and they're probably not going to lose many users over it. So they just leave it be. That would be my guess. I don't know what goes on inside of Twitch.
Who I've got in my day job, right? You got your product team who want to make more money for the company, so they're going to prioritize features that generate more revenue. But in the meanwhile, me trying to make sure my code base doesn't explode, want to fix the bugs that are like going to bite us in the ass in a couple of months. So it's a constant battle of, please give us time to fix this. Well, we can't because it's not going to make us any money. You need to work on this instead. I love the development.
So you mean to tell me that they are not doing this because they love art and they are supporting artists? That's what you're telling me, right?
I hate to be the person to tell you that, but it's...
I wouldn't even doubt that there are several people working there that do love art and want to support artists, but they're not the ones who decide where the money goes. So, yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. We have a question from the audience. Oh, by the way, if anyone from the audience wants to throw in a question in the chat, they are most welcomed. Every time we get one of those, the conversation gets even more interesting. So you are welcome if that occurs. We have Meljo1 wants to ask, have you tried Owncast, and or what do you think of it? It's a Faber FOSS live streaming.
Yeah, I haven't tried it, but I have seen it. I saw it a couple of years ago and it looked amazing. That's how personally I want things like Twitch to ultimately become. You look at how Twitter's died. thankfully. And what's coming out of it, like Mastodon and federated services like that, that's the future of social media, where you own your own content and you own your own infrastructure, but you can still network with other people rather than having to use a platform or a solo platform that's controlled by a corporation. But there's a big barrier to entry with those kind of things. Mastodon makes it really easy because you've got your instances and it's really easy to set up and stuff. But with Owncast, I don't know, not so much. And there's still the issue of like, you lose your sense of community with Twitch, right? There's like, I've had people ask, oh, why don't you stream to YouTube? Like, why do you stream to Twitch? Well, YouTube's weird because they've got it's really difficult to explain unless you're on Twitch and you've been on Twitch. There's a certain sort of kind of community with Twitch within the platform and how you discover streams and how you interact with other people on the platform that's just different to YouTube. I don't know. YouTube feels a lot more soulless compared to Twitch, even though Twitch has got its problems and stuff. But I kind of feel like that's the main barrier with things like Owncast, is that you just lose that. It becomes disconnected and you sort of find it difficult to have that sense of community and stuff like that. It's a great concept, but yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm not personally interested in being very much of an evangelist for any given thing. I would love to see something like a federated streaming platform become the main thing, because I'm on Twitch because it kind of like Scruffy was saying, it's got especially for again, we're talking smaller streamers. I think Twitch is much better for the community there than YouTube is. Especially raids are huge. The fact that YouTube doesn't have raids is almost alone enough of a reason for me to stick with Twitch. But also, I'm just kind of at this point, Twitch is where I've invested the time, so it's where I am. But so like I am not going to. I guess I don't have interest in being the one to trailblaze the new thing and drag people along with me, because I don't have really that many people to drag. But I would happily move to another platform if one existed. Forget where I was going with that. I guess that's all I had to say.
There are probably some people in the chat that don't know what the Fediverse is. Would you guys like to explain that for them?
I can try.
It's a simple concept.
Very simple question. So if you think of traditional social media like Twitch or Twitter, they're owned by a single company. They own the infrastructure. They own the data sets. They own everything. When you have a federated server, you still have that, but it's spread across different instances, right? So if you think of like Discord minus the company Discord, you've got people who own their own server. Imagine they could all talk to each other through some kind of protocol over the internet, kind of like how email works, right? So like I can send an email from Gmail to Hotmail. I don't have to be on Hotmail for you to be able to receive that email. But I could also set up my own email server if I wanted to on the internet, outside of control of Google or Microsoft. Kind of the same principle, but just more modern, on a more modern spec. But Google it for a better answer.
That was pretty good. Do you have anything to add, Dave, to that?
Better than I could have explained it.
We have a question from the audience. We have two questions from the audience. First, Lady Halina wants to know, have you ever synced, Dave, in some of your streams? Have you ever synced?
Me specifically? Yeah, I have. I actually used to more. And this was another... before I was as locked into synthesizers being the thing as I am now, I did a couple of actually just like piano and guitar streams where I was singing with it. And then occasionally I've done, like I used to have, I did a goofy version of Jumpin' Jack Flash on like the live loop synthesizers and stuff like that. And I would sing that one. But yeah, I don't do it as much anymore, partially because when I started streaming, and again, I stream it like, I've actually gotten a little later. It used to be at like 6 a.m. Now it's like 8 a.m. But I lived alone when I started, and I don't live alone anymore. So I don't want to subject the rest of the house to that at 8 a.m. But I guess if you would like to see me sing there, if you go to my channel, one of the highlighted videos is I did in one of the synth fests when it was still synth fest. I did a cover of a chiptune cover of All My Best Friends Are Metalheads from Less Than Jake. So I had fun with that one. So that's a thing that you can watch without me having to sing again to hear my voice.
Do you? Why are you doing this so early? Do you sleep during daytime or what? What do you do?
No, it's I stream before work, and it's for a couple of reasons. One is this has become less true over time, but it used to be that from like the period of from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. no one was gonna there was going to be nothing that would really prevent me from being able to do a live stream. And that was kind of the only time of day when I was definitely not going to be, have anything else come up. So that's when I decided to do it. There's other aspects of it too. One is just that it's kind of nice to just do something you enjoy before work, instead of just like rolling out of bed and it's, oh, I'm miserable and tired and now I got to start working. But instead I get out of bed and then I do synthesizers and get myself in a good mood and then I start working and then I get to be miserable. Yeah, but I guess the final thing too, without going too deeply into it, but like there's I am on like some medication and stuff that it's helpful for when I'm working, that when I take it a couple hours in advance, it's it's ADHD stuff. And when I take it a couple hours in advance, it has time to kick in before I start work. And so I get up early, I take my medication, and then I do my live stream, and then then my stuff's kicked in, and I'm good to go, and I can do my work. So that's the low key thing that I maybe don't bring up as much, but that's another reason why I do it at that time.
That's nice. Thanks for sharing. We had Cat and Chamber saying you're from the ADHD fam, so I guess there's more of those in the chat. We have a question.
There's a lot of that in the Shrimp Guild, I've noticed.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about that, but
I guess social media in general has a lot of people that are maybe neurodivergent or have some sort of thing. We have a question from Actitet. Do you guys prepare for a stream mentally, musically, and technically? We kind of covered that, but if you have something else to add.
Yes. Yeah, all three. I mentally prepare myself, physically prepare myself by doing the turning off gear game to try and get everything connected. The old rolling of the dice to see if everything actually fucking works before you go live. And then I do a very small preparation of just a drum pattern and a basic melody or bass line to sort of get into it.
How about you, Dave?
So mentally, musically, and technically. So I guess we covered the technical one, but the mentally and musically, that with those ones, I probably should prepare more than I do sometimes. So a lot of times, especially with like themed synthons and stuff like that, there's like, oh yeah, it would be cool if I did this thing, and then I'll like, an hour beforehand be like, oh, I meant to set this up, and I didn't actually practice this thing that I wanted to do or whatever. So there's, a lot of times I think that I should probably practice some stuff for streams more than I do, but I also kind of treat the at least non-synthon streams as kind of practice in their own right. So I don't know. So to answer the do I mentally practice? No, but I should. Do I technically prepare? Yeah, I do technically prepare, I guess.
How long are your streams in average?
So I usually try and go for about 2 hours. I think 2 hours is where I sort of mentally check out. After 2 hours of doing improv, I can feel myself just like starting to sleep, starting to get tired, exhausted. So yeah, about 2 hours. I can go on longer, but I can tell. Like as soon as I hit the 2-hour mark, I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to stop now.
Yeah, I think for me, I think like my if I was going to like pick the perfect length of a performance for me, I think I would do best if it was like maybe like an hour and 40 minutes. I think that's when it's like I hit like I've had enough time to let the music breathe, but I'm starting to run out of stuff to do. I think ideally I would aim to stream 2 hours per stream. A lot of times recently, just because I do it in the morning and sometimes I sleep in later than I want to, I wind up doing just an hour. Ideally, I would do 2 though.
Like the Bournemouth's peak of music making, like just under 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the strange thing about Twitch. Yeah, that the streams tend to be long, and that's not very musical. People do it, but music tends to come in 1 hour formats, maybe less.
Yeah, I think it's. Yeah, I think the another thing that is a little weird for us specifically, synthesizer musicians, because even aside from a lot of Twitch is geared towards gaming, then when you get into Twitch music, a lot of Twitch music is geared towards playing like vocal songs, like you sing a 3-minute song and then you stop and then you interact with chat and then you take a break and then you do another 3-minute vocal song and you stop and you interact with chat. And with synthesizer music, electronic music, that's kind of not generally how that genre goes. It's it's not all of us, but a lot of us tend to go for a more seamless kind of thing. And in some ways that makes it easier to do a full 2 hours of music. But in the other ways, it's kind of Twitch music is like doubly not catered towards us, I guess.
It's really interesting because I've definitely seen the same sort of trend with game streams, right? So like game streamers usually 4 or 5 hours, a lot of interaction with chat. On the flip side, on the music side, I primarily hang out more in DJ streams, which was a big sort of confidence boost for me to do what I wanted to do, because coming from the just chat and casual gaming side, doing the like interaction with people, particularly if you don't have a lot of viewers, is really, really hard. And I'm not the sort of person that can just waffle on to myself or ramble on. Some people can, and they're absolutely brilliant at it, but I can't. But with the DJ streams, a lot of DJs don't really have that interaction because they just play the music. One particular DJ I watched just didn't have a mic at all. And I was like, yeah, of course, you don't have to have a mic to stream, right? You don't even have to have a cam to stream. And that's what got me started off. I still had a cam and a mic, and I eventually reincorporated it into my setup. But yeah, for a long time at the start, I didn't have a cam or mic, and I found it much easier to get into doing music because I didn't have to worry about having that interaction or stopping and starting or keeping chat entertained or anything like that.
That's nice. We have another question from the audience. We have 10 minutes to go, so if anyone else has any questions for ScruffyFox or 3 or 2 Dave, this is the time to do them. Beta Unix ask, is there some fairly major change you're planning or looking forward to being able to accomplish for your streams?
Major changes? No, not anything in my foremind. But then again, gear comes along every now and then, and I buy it and have to rejig literally everything. I've rebuilt my stream setup, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 times now, buying new gear, having to find space for new bits and pieces and stuff like that. But it's pretty much been the same consistency from the start, the same formula, the same sort of workflow, just more complicated.
Yeah, for me, the changes, like my stream now compared to my stream like 2 years ago is probably almost unrecognizable, but it's the changes are always very gradual or like incremental. Like Scruffy said, add a new piece of gear and change this around. Like I recently started keeping a Deluge with an SH32 hooked up to do for like acid bass lines, and now that's just like a thing that I've added, and it's just there. But it wasn't like, you know, I don't consider it a drastic change to the way that I make music. It's just a new feature that I've added. I've toyed around with doing some DAW stuff in the past, and I keep occasionally going back to that and just playing with like, okay, with the stuff that I have, can I make a DAW thing work? But that was never going to be like the main thing. I'm very much like invested in the setup that I have is kind of its own instrument that I've taught myself to play. So the way that I play now is kind of, I intend to keep that the main thing for the foreseeable future.
I really resonate with that. Like, I've built my setup as if it's an instrument, right? Like, some people will play the guitar. This is my instrument. Ableton and the way it's set up and all of my macros, this is my instrument.
Yeah, I almost think of it like how people talk about like pipe organs, or like when you play like an entire orchestra. It's very similar.
Yeah, and the feet and the
yeah, and it's like maybe not in form, but in the ideology. I think the setup that I have is very that's the mindset that I go at it with. Is that I want to just have this big console that I can play an orchestra's worth of sounds with.
Do you guys do live sessions as well, as in IRL lives, or do you just stick to Twitch?
No, just Twitch. It would be very difficult for me to move all of my gear because it's very tied to my personal computer, which I use for everything else.
Yeah, it's something I've always wanted to do, but I've never actually had the opportunity. I don't really even know how to. I don't have the connections or really know how to make that a thing that happens. It's something I've been trying to explore, but have never actually done.
We're about to finish. Thanks, guys. We have 5 minutes left before going to soon enough this stream. We have one more question from the audience. Before moving to that, I would like, to thank my guests today and to explain to the folks that are new to this experience that if you want to join these streams, if you want to come as a guest, or if you want to participate of the project, you can go to the Golden Shrimp Guild's Discord. There we have a channel called GSG Talk. There we discuss who's gonna be in these little programs, what's it gonna be about. If there are any suggestions, just go to the Discord. And if you don't have the Discord and you want to join, please tell us in the comments in the chat, and we'll forward an invitation to you. Question from the Breathalyzer. Who was your first favorite musician, and who is a favorite now?
Oh, that's a hard question. That's a very hard question. I don't know. I don't know the answer. My first favorite musician, I have no idea. Probably Kurt Cobain. I was a big grunge fan when I was a kid. Favorite musician now, if I had to very quickly pick someone from the top of my head, Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam, probably.
Yeah, for me, it's hard to narrow it down. I guess I'd say, if we're saying first favorite musician, I would say one that's had a big influence on my style of piano and keyboard playing would be Billy Joel. But like, as far as over time, again, it's hard to like have a ranking of which one is your number one favorite now or whatever. But it very much depends on the genre. If I'm talking the type of music that I play, if you ever listened to Chicane, I think it's pronounced, kind of does like, I think he's like late 90s, early 2000s trance. I think he still makes music. That he's kind of an influential one. I'm also kind of, before I was into synthesizer music as much, and still to this day, I'm kind of a punk guy, and especially ska punk guy, and Streetlight Manifesto is way up there for me. So there's a couple of answers for you.
Okay. Before we go, if anyone is interested in seeing you guys, do you guys have a schedule? Would you like to plug your streams? Do you have have a routine? You kind of talked about it, but if you want to narrow it down just for the viewers, that would be great.
I would love to, yeah. I try and stream every day except for Saturday. I do an improv on Sunday from 7:30 BST. And then I do radio restreams whilst I work from home of my radio project during the daytime, Monday to Friday from 1:30 BST.
Yeah, so mine, it's a little bit inconsistent which days I stream, but it's usually weekdays at... I shoot for weekdays at 7 a.m. Eastern time. I haven't actually gotten started at 7 a.m. in a while, though, so it's usually like weekdays at like 8 a.m. Eastern time, but sometimes over there a little earlier. I've been trying for a while to get going into... I used to do Thursday evenings a lot. One of these days, I swear I will get back to doing Thursday evenings, but it hasn't happened yet. So I guess the simple answer is look for me at like 8 a.m. Eastern time on weekdays, and I'll usually be there.
Nice. Scruffy, you have a webpage also, right? Where one can find your music.
Yeah, ScruffyFox.fm. That's my project. It's essentially it's just all of my improvs mixed together into a single endless stream of radio. Streams 24/7 on my website, even when I'm offline on Twitch. So you can literally go to my website and just listen to any of the music that I've made previously.
Nice.
It's very convenient.
Do you have something like that, 302?
So I'm actually currently working on building a personal website, but I'm not ready for people to look at it yet. So I'm going to say twitch.tv/302Dave. There'll be when the website exists for real, then there'll be a link to it on there.
Nice. Well, that has been our talk for today. Thank you very much, Scruffy. Thank you very much, Dave. This has been very interesting.
Thank you for hosting us.
Please, my pleasure. So thanks, everybody. I don't know if you guys have anything else to add to this.
Keep being awesome. Thanks for hosting.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. See you on the other side. Goodbye.